The Law of Mind in Action by Fenwicke, L. Holmes. The one law we need to know. There is one law supreme to this system of life. Sometimes we call it the law of cause and effect. Sometimes we speak of it as the method by which spirit passes into manifestation. Psychologists frequently speak of it as the law of suggestion. Every teacher of metaphysics spends his time either in giving his interpretation of it or in explaining some truth that it is related to. Our happiness and success in life are measured by the degree to which, either consciously or unconsciously, we are obedient to the requirement of this law. It is the law that we cannot break, but we can be broken by trying to break it. It is the law by which, as ye sow, ye also shall reap. Through it, it shall be done unto you according to your faith. It explains why, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. It is the basis of the law of correspondence. It is the activity of creative mind, neither good nor bad, by which we create our own heaven and our own hell. It is the secret of all tragedy and all comedy. It is the touchstone to truth, and he who knows it and employs it wisely is the emancipated soul and a master on the path. Let the student therefore learn the following principles, which constitute the law, that through the knowledge he may obtain the mastery of fate and control the conditions of life and destiny, for no less a power is in the hands of him who learns and wisely employs this law. All must use it because we live by it, but how few use it wisely. The law. The first principle of this law is that of the universal presence of intelligence, that we live, move and have our being in a vast sea of life, both visible and invisible, that this intelligent life is not only around us but is in us even more. It not only is around and in us, but it is the substance as well of which all things, including our bodies, are composed. This statement is supported alike by revelation, as in the Bible, by science, as in psychology or chemistry, and by philosophy, as in our lesson on spirit. Before there was a visible universe, which we call nature, there must of necessity have been an invisible universe, which we call spirit or power. The orderly way in which it arranged the visible universe which it created shows that it was and is a wonderful intelligence. Since spirit was and is all, it had nothing else than itself out of which to make a world. It therefore had to fashion a substance for its own body, the universe, out of itself, or spirit. Since spirit is intelligence, of necessity the substance which it brought forth must share its nature, and all life must manifest the life of spirit, since it proceeds from it. All science is agreed that life has never been discovered that did not come from antecedent life, so that we can move back from the life of nature to the life from which it is derived, or nature's God. Accordingly, nature and the life in nature are one and the same thing, and we live in a universe which is literally alive. Secondly, we see therefore that this universal intelligence is also creative. It is the power that makes things, and is the intelligence that molds original substance and holds it in form. As in man, the subjective or impersonal mind builds new life cells day by day, and takes care of the growing life of the child and the renewing life of maturity, so in nature the creative mind is busy building ever more stately mansions for its dwelling place. New universes are being flung out across the vast abyss of space. New stars begin to gleam as they launch out their ageless journey around some distant sun. The earth upon which we tread is growing daily through the addition of cosmic dust and daily changing in its internal structure. New forms of life are appearing, or old are altering. Flowers are blooming into life to breathe their beauty on the breast of nature, and we live in a world of life, ever-renewing, ever-changing, ever-evolving into higher expression of the exhaustless energy of creative mind. The second part of our law, therefore, calls attention to the fact that we not only live in a world of intelligence, but that this intelligence is constantly creating. Behold, I make all things new. In this is man's hope and his power to act. This life is the life of the creative spirit, intelligence or mind, and therefore we perceive that it emerges into form to enjoy its own power to live. When we think, it is spirit thinking through us. When we utter a truth, it is spirit putting out into expression a thought from its limitless power to think. When we breathe, it is spirit breathing us. Thirdly, this creative intelligence acts upon the impress of the strongest impression, thought or image made upon it. When man emerges in consciousness out of this vast sea of life, as a wave runs upon the bosom of the ocean, he rises sufficiently high to enable him to perceive that there is an ocean. Thus spirit fulfills a purpose in becoming man by enabling itself through becoming the particular to perceive itself in its allness. Man is spirit come forth out of the formless into form, out of the timeless into time, out of the limitless into certain limitations, and yet as man, spirit never loses its power to draw upon its resources as spirit. Therefore, we must recognize that all the power of the universe is back of the mind of man when he thinks. Then too, we must recognize that there cannot be a will in the universal mind opposed to man, for if there were, then he could not draw from the creative mind and powers what he wants except by chance. We therefore recognize, so far as we are concerned, there is back of us a universal creative mind which desires to become to us whatever we desire. That is, whatever we think into it, and which has no purpose of its own opposed to ours. As it creates a world by thinking a world, for mind can act only through thought, so it creates for man himself whatever he desires by acting as creative mind upon his thought. This mind, therefore, is in this aspect purely impersonal and neutral. It has no purpose of its own as opposed to ours. It is creative activity, infinitely susceptible, responsive to our every thought, and is the power that brings into existence in form whatever we fashion in thought. We therefore perceive that whatever we think must make a greater or lesser impression on creative mind, and that when we consciously use our knowledge, we make an image of the thing we desire. Then we present it to the great creative intelligence which begins to act upon our suggestion to bring forth our good into visible form. The purpose of this book, in the main, is to show the various phases of the activity of this law, the law of creative activity by which the creative mind brings into form whatever we present to it sufficiently forcefully in thought. But there is one other feature of the law which must not be overlooked. Fourthly, this is what we may term the personal side of spirit's activity. While as law it acts in the manner we have just described, and while so far as the individual will is concerned, it does not act contrary to our purposes, still it also acts as a law of tendency. It tends to the production of higher manifestations of itself in individual expression and form. It is seeking its own self-expression, since there can be no other motive of creation at all. Its nature is life, love, and wisdom. This it seeks to manifest. Accordingly, it stands back of man as the source of his life, love, and wisdom, and is ready to teach us all things and guide us in the way of truth. It not only creates, therefore, according to the thought we impress upon it as law or impersonal mind, but it becomes the director of man's thought and life whenever we turn to it for guidance and direction in our affairs. This is in accordance with the 3 principles just outlined, for as infinite wisdom, it takes the impress of our desire for wisdom and brings that out into expression just as it does life and form. We perceive this intelligence, therefore, as the source of man's inspirations and intuitions. When we turn for guidance to it, it becomes our teacher and guide. When we turn to it for love, it becomes our lover. The greatest achievement of our own highest intelligence is therefore to be found in so harmonizing ourselves with this great life, love and wisdom, that we may find it in us as a perennial spring, the water of life surging up eternally from the depth of our being. Whosoever believes on this spirit of life, from within him shall flow springs of living water. Make a study of all the facts you know in relation to this great law. Restate it in your own words. Learn it in some such form as this: I live in a universe of intelligence in which everything is alive and infinitely responsive to thought, since it takes its form out of the substance of mind through the process of thinking. This intelligence is a creative factor in all nature and in the moulding of all thought into form. It creates according to its own thought and according to the strongest impression or image of thought of the individual mind. It is the source of my life and understanding and impresses its nature and wisdom upon me as I allow it through my intuitions. Therefore, I control my life and conditions by the thoughts I think, since the universal mind acts creatively on my every thought. I am through my power of thought, master of my fate. Meditate on the above law. Think how your life has been controlled either by your own thinking or by the suggestions that have been made upon your mind, either consciously or unconsciously. When you were a child, you took your thought from your family. Your world was what you made it, but it was an unconscious acceptance of the thought and manners of your family. After a while, you began to think independently, and your world changed that much for you. You began to control consciously the conditions of your life. As your understanding grew, you thought more and more independently of your associates. Therefore, your life became that much different from theirs. Did you continue to accept the suggestions of your environment, or did you begin to think independently? Either consciously or unconsciously, you are now conditioning your life. Affirm the following: I will now take conscious control of my life. I will think only the things I want to think. I will control whatever is to come into my life by controlling my thought. I will daily mould my thoughts into finer form, that creative mind in me and around me may bring forth a world for me of fairer form. I will think thoughts of truth, that I may be guided by supreme wisdom. I will think thoughts of faith, that I may have the peace of God that passeth all understanding. I do now so think. I am filled with the spirit of love. I am in harmony with the divine mind. I am open and receptive to the highest feelings. I do now consciously contact the mind of love and wisdom. I wait on the Lord that he may renew my strength. My mind is stayed on thee, and I am at perfect peace with all men and with myself. No evil can befall me, and the angels of love are around about me. Conscious of the godlike qualities of my soul, I go my way today in the strength of the infinite. I walk upon the earth as master and not as slave. I keep the law and the law keeps me. I obey the law and the law obeys me. I give my heart to God in divinest joy of self-giving, and I feel the helping hand of God upon me. I am glad. I am strong. I am full of life and love today.